back to A Well-Designed Business. My name is LuAnn Nigara, and I'm so glad you found this podcast. Together with my husband Vince and our partner Bill, we have grown our company Window Works from the ground up. So I know and I understand the challenges you face in running your interior design business. I also know that your talent alone isn't enough to ensure your success. So on this podcast, we talk about strategies and practical steps to help you grow your business. But make no mistake about it, we have our share of fun here too, mixed in with those aha moments that I love so much. This isn't fluff. Nobody has time for that. Whether you are a new interior designer or a seasoned designer, I am here to help you create and to manage the kind of interior design firm that you dream of. It's straight talk and it's action. Are you ready? Let's get started. Hi, welcome to A Well-Designed Business. Have you ever chatted with someone who is so wildly successful in their business, yet when you talk to them, they make it sound just so simple and easy? Well, my guest today is one of those people with the perfect combination of natural business savvy, strong communication skills, and of course, methodical systems. I'm sitting down with Claire Ownby of Ownby Design, an industry-leading luxury interior design firm located in Scottsdale, Arizona. Ownby Design is a well-oiled machine that consistently turns out beautiful, high-level projects. But you don't get to that level without some smart systems and processes. And I'm looking forward to sharing with you what Claire has to say about what it takes to run a high-level luxury interior design firm well. Hi, Claire. Thanks so much for joining me on A Well-Designed Business today.
Hi, LuAnn. Happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. And I am delighted to have you here, Claire, because you know what? Any friend of Brad Levitt's is a friend of mine. So I'm super excited. Our colleagues out there listening to us are very familiar with Brad Levitt from AFT Construction. If you happen to be a new listener, I highly suggest you go back. We will put the episodes for Brad Levitt in the show notes. Amazing luxury builder in Arizona. And everybody, Claire has done projects with Brad, and you know the level of quality that Brad expects and will only deal with on his projects. And so, Claire, I had already looked at your website and saw your work, and I knew that you were doing some crazy, beautiful things. But when I learned that you are a designer that Brad will work with, because that's exactly what it is. He has a will work with and will not work with list. That says to me that your process is tight, because you and I know that we can meet designers all day long that turn out beautiful projects. But if we were to ask, what was that timeline like and what was that process like, it is often less than desired. But when I know a designer works with Brad, I know that they're tight and their projects are systemized. And so I got to believe that you would say, heck yes, LuAnn, we're tight running projects here.
Yeah, I mean, from my perspective, I think we're always striving to perfect our process, but certainly one of the things that we pride ourselves about is just the level of detail that we go through in order to make the construction process seamless.
And that's kind of where it lies, right, Claire? It's almost that how much do you as a design team pull together, to way Brad describes it, before ground is even broken? Is that how you function as well?
Yeah, not only before ground is broken, but we try to really make sure that our interiors package is close to 100% before the permit is even applied for, because any contractor will tell you if there is discrepancies between the architectural set and the interior set, it just slows the whole process down. So in order for us to have our interiors package as close to perfect before that permit is pulled, it just has the most seamless integration between the two sets.
So for me, uneducated, when you say interiors package, do you mean everything to furnishings, or do you mean all the hardscapes and the things that the builder is going to build?
Yeah, so our architectural interiors package is everything the builder would touch. And hopefully, in a perfect world, it's all already been integrated into the architectural set from the architect so that there is not one set that shows plumbing fixtures on, location A, and then the interior set shows it somewhere else.
Okay. But I think what I'm asking is, at that point prior to permit, are you also walking your clients all the way through to picking like the sofas and the lamps and all of that? Or is it we're talking about what the builder and the architect are touching?
So post pandemic, we are now finishing our furnishings package to where we are ordering a good portion of the goods before the slab is poured. So yes, to now answer your
Wow.
question, we are doing
Yes.
that well in advance.
Wow, that's incredible. And listen, I'm going wow because I don't have the superpower that you guys do. And there's some designers and many, many, many. I'm like, of course, they're saying yes. But my brain always marvels at what you guys do in the sense of that that you can design a home to completion like that before there's even a slab. It's just crazy, that creativity, and that it's a skill set, obviously. I mean, talking to the choir here, right? So, okay, so in order to do this, you have to be extremely buttoned up, and let's also just qualify. The projects that your firm does, Claire, these are multiple $1 million projects. These are not entry level type projects, correct?
Correct. Yeah. Majority of our clients are building, 10 million, $20 million plus homes. It's a second or third home for them. So they're not only a savvy client that has done this before, but they're busy and they want the process very streamlined.
Wow. Wow, 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 wow. How many projects of this level is your team? Like, what's the capacity of your team? Can you do three in, one a year, three a year? What's that look like?
We have 120 projects going on right now, and
Oh,
some of
okay.
those take 5 years to completion. So, yeah, we're definitely a busy firm.
Whoa. 120 projects. Now, of course, they probably are they're at different levels, or are they all in that 10 to $20 million home value range?
All different levels. So we do some processes for like builders that have semi-custom homes, right, where we'll take their buyers through all of their selection processes and then furnish the home. So we're certainly not building everything customized within their architecture at that point. It's a much more contour design process that goes much quicker. So we do have, at least 30 of those projects that are that type of home level. And then, all the way through, some of our homes are installing, other ones are just in the concept phase. So all over the board.
Wow, that's amazing. And you mentioned to me off air that your company has 22 people on your team.
22 people, correct.
And what is this makeup of people? Do you have like a procurement department? Do you have interiors department? Do you have construction department? Like what's your makeup?
Yeah, we've got a pretty strong and robust administrative side to our business. We've moved all of the purchasing and logistics into its own department. So the designers now don't touch any of the ordering, tracking, purchasing portion of it, which has really streamlined them to be able to focus just on design. And then I've got about 10 project designers with some support design for them as well.
Wow, that's amazing. That's amazing. So, talk to us then, Claire. What are some of the things that contribute to keeping your process, on time and within the investment range? Because even if somebody is, doing a $20 million home, of course, they're not, nickel and diming you, but they're wanting it. I'm sure there's always agreements with what the dollar value is going to be and how that's going to be allocated or whatever it is. So, what are some of the key things that that contribute to you and your firm keeping projects on time and on investment range?
Yeah, I always like to refer to it as how are we bringing value to the
Mm.
project? Because if I'm going to hire a professional, I want to know what am I getting? What value are they bringing to my process? And I look at our services just the same. So yes, we are bringing creativity. Certainly, that's probably one of the biggest drivers is new, fresh, creative ideas. But then also, how are we doing that and bringing the value to the table? And I think that when we sit down in the beginning of the process and I walk them through what values we bring through our processes, how much quicker your construction goes is probably the biggest one. Everybody understands the delay and the cost that delays can occur. So that's one of the largest reasons why I think we also have a huge referral source from other builders
Mm.
is because we help them be more efficient, which
Mm.
then in turn, it helps the client spend less money on their construction. So that's probably the biggest one. And then just resourcefulness. If we're touching 120 projects every year, we have researched probably almost every solution to each item that comes up multiple times. So staying really current on what are the latest solutions? Is there something that's more cost effective or just more efficient?
Mm.
And so, being really up on the latest and greatest is another huge asset that I think we bring.
Mm. And through the process, through the process of this podcast, I've interviewed large firms like yours, and they have often different desires as the principal, the CEO of the firm. Some desire and have set their company up that from a creative standpoint, they're involved either throughout it or on a low level like a high touch level, or at least at different various points at a higher touch level, but the creativity is always part of what they do. I've also interviewed some of the CEOs like at your level that are not involved in every project, and there might be that maybe they are involved in the top 20% of the projects that come in their firm, but their team handles, like if you have 120 projects, maybe your team is handling 90 that you don't even look at. So where are you at on that, Claire? How do you structure your company?
Yeah, so I still touch every project.
Mm.
I'm still the person that is meeting with the clients before they engage our services. So I feel it's really important for me to honor the fact that they're meeting me in the
Mm.
beginning of the project and I don't just disappear. Certainly, I'm not doing the heavy lifting on 120 projects.
Right.
I'm only touching that project at strategic points throughout our process that makes the most sense. And it also gives my team the ability to have their own creative freedoms, which in our industry is so important to the longevity of our careers. If we don't feel creatively stimulated, you can burn out really quickly.
Mm. And how do you manage that then? So, or is it easy to identify the strategic places where you touch a project, or is it different for every project, Claire?
For us, it's very strategic. Our systems are methodical,
Mm.
which it just translates with our size of a team, and it also gives me the ability to have some autonomy with the rest of my life. But being able to know exactly when I get a review with the project designers on each project, if it's a large scale renovation versus a new construction, those triggers, those points are different, but certainly it's still the same for each project.
Okay, I understand now. What you're saying is there might be 5 or 6 different types of overall projects, and each of those projects you have determined the strategic places where you have to be eyeballs on what's happening.
Correct.
Got it. Got it. Got it. Got it. Okay. And then you mentioned something that was interesting. You said that, by being more at the upper, higher level view of the project, it enables the designers on your team to develop their creativity and stay juiced up and jazzed up and all the things. How, like I've interviewed designers that are way before where you're at, where they are now maybe with 8 people on their team as opposed to 22, and they're navigating, and the 8 includes all the different types of people. Maybe it's 3 designers and it's an admin and blah blah blah, right? And they're navigating that new world of I'm out there making rain. I'm meeting all the clients. I'm deciding which projects we're taking or not taking. But in order for me to do X amount of projects a year, as you said, the heavy lifting is done by the team. What I find at this level, and I'm curious where you're at, is there is, and I'm actually curious which if there's a correct or an incorrect here. So at this level, I'm finding that the principals are saying to me, when I let them go and design on their own, no, it seems it takes forever to get them to understand the aesthetic of the firm. And I'm saying, no, not this, no, not this, no, not this. And at the same time, I'm wondering, like, sometimes I think to myself, does it matter? If it's beautiful, what does it matter? And of course I know that's not right. But so the question so the question is when you have 120 projects going, is it that you're 100% satisfied with the design of every one? Or is there sometimes you were like, that's not what I would have done, but it's still beautiful and the client's happy and that's okay? Like, how does that happen?
So the way that we handle it here is it's almost like I am the client that's getting presented to with the
Hmm.
ideas. I think what that's also preparing my project designers for is to not have personal feelings, not have personal attachments, because if they do, they're going to fail as soon as we get in front of the client anyway. If
Mm.
the client doesn't like something, you need to have another solution. It's their home. There is another solution. So don't fall in love with your only idea, right? Because it's not your only idea. So it's almost like they're having a pre-client meeting. And
Mm.
there's many times where I would say, yes, hey, that's not the solution that I would have done. Let's include it in the presentation, but let's also include this, which would have been, my normal default.
Mm.
If there's something that I don't feel like is solving the request, there's always the boxes that we're checking to get to the solutions that we present, but it's more about having multiple options. There's not always one thing that we're showing, and that's where I think it gives our designers some ability to also interject some of their ideas that might not have been mine.
Mm, okay. And then how about you have to have had in your 25-year experience in building a firm of this size? How about when you've had a designer on your team and maybe initially you're very thrilled, very happy, and maybe design chops weren't where, you expected them that they would be, but you expected that they would get to a place and all the other things were in place. But it's 6 months or a year and you're just thinking you're not producing elevated design. I thought you would grow into it. I thought you would learn by being here, but you're thinking in your head, I don't think you're ever going to cut it. Like, have you had that situation and you've just had to say, great person, great all the things, but isn't going to cut it design wise? Or do you figure that out a different way? How does that work, Claire?
Yeah, so I'm always about longevity of relationships. So I am pretty brutally honest with my design team about where I see their strengths and where I can see them grow into. I don't hire designers that work outside of our aesthetic for very specific reasons, because that would be a constant conflict. And
Right.
our aesthetic is pretty specific. So, but I have had some designers that in their entry years, and we train our team pretty deeply before they even move into a design position. But in those early years, if I don't feel like this is the right fit for them long term, I help them find another solution. And so some of them have gone into repping architectural interior products, and they've taken off and soared, because I really just knew that that was going to be a better fit for them than
Mm.
actually creating the designs. So I think there's always more than one solution, and I do take that responsibility pretty heavily to make sure that if it's someone within my team, no matter whether it's with me or someone else, they succeed.
So here's the thing. That's a pretty significant thing that you just said. What you're saying is that if you actually feel that someone is ultimately long term not going to be successful as a designer in your firm, you're sitting them down and you're saying, sweetie, it's not going to happen. You should probably get into this other field and I can open a door for you. Now, I'm talking in inside voice. You talked in the outside professional voice, but am I understanding that that's literally what you will do?
Oh, absolutely. Especially if it's someone that has earned that level of respect. I mean, certainly I've had people that I've hired that either didn't have any work ethic, didn't,
Mm,
perform. That's a very different situation. They clearly just weren't a good fit for our level of production and the professionalism that we're
hmm.
used to. That I can't help.
Right.
I can't teach work ethic. I can't.
Right.
I can't teach professionalism. I can't give you the passion to love to come to work every day, right? But if you do have those skills of, I love being here and I want to work hard, but it's not the right fit. Those are the instances where I'm saying I take that responsibility pretty heavily in making sure that whatever their next step is, helping find that for them.
Mm. I understand as an owner and a CEO how how much of a gift that actually is, right? But there has to have been times when the recipient doesn't think it's such a gift. Where, they're, no, I'll get better. I can do this. I want to be a designer in your firm. That's got to be a hard conversation.
It is, especially, if someone doesn't necessarily see it yet. And I have had that happen where it's really just not, they're not in a place to hear that yet.
Mm.
And then usually it will come back around. It might take a year or two. And then, I try to really stay connected with people that have worked for our firm. And so just hearing their transitions and the next steps in their design career or wherever it takes them, usually it always turns around to a really nice conversation of reflection.
See, and that's the thing. It's like everything that we do in life, really, and in our businesses. When we have that hard conversation, regardless of how hard it is, as long as we've done it with respect and love and care and all the things, even if that right there in that moment there is an agreement, when it is actually the right thing to do, to your point, eventually there's that acknowledgement that comes back. And so, and when that happens one time for you as the CEO, I'll bet the first time that that happened, it gives you more confidence and more impetus to do it the second time, because it's still hard every time you do it, but you're like, I know this is not a fit for this person, and hopefully they'll be like Sally, and 6 months from now they'll thank me for cutting them loose so that they could go do something that's more suited to them, right?
100%.
Yeah, crazy. Okay, so that's interesting. Now, maintaining open communication with a firm this large, I got to imagine you have a series of meetings that are set up and things like that. That, from an administrative standpoint, I'm sure that you've got your Monday meetings, whatever they are. How about that? Keep no. So you want? I understand you saying like they have to present their design to you, but they're not getting all the way to the client meeting is next week, and they're presenting to you the week before, right? You must be doing interim along the way so that you're always course correcting, and that whole thing isn't like start over with the bathwater.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, like I said, we've got our points of connection where the original vision board is checked. And then, there's probably 5 checks along the way before we even present our first concept to the client. So there's many, many connection points between myself and the design team before we're actually engaging back with the client again.
And you mentioned that you have taught your designers to understand that it's not personal, and if they cannot separate that, that's going to make their life more difficult. Is it something that you do in the hiring process? Is it something you do in the onboarding process where you're consistently introducing the topic? You're going, whatever your words are, you're going to be critiqued. This is, I'm going to critique you. It's going to make you better. This is not, like when I teach here at Window Works in my company, I always say this isn't about catching you doing something wrong. This is about helping you understanding the best way, another way to do something. But I'm not judging people's creativity. That's harder, right?
It is harder, and it is something that I think takes time. We do actually give our designers a test before they are hired within our firm. We give them a test problem, a test project, and have them submit and see how they react to our critique of the project. We like to see how efficient they are, how creative, and how they solve problems. So we do get a taste of that before we hire them, but most of it actually comes, that kind of training comes within multiple meetings of sitting down and seeing how they respond to, okay, well, I don't like that idea. What else can you come up with, and seeing how they react to that. And sometimes I'll be even harder on them than a client potentially could be, because again, I think it really helps prepare to be in front of a client and not, show your emotions, not melt down. And because there is always another solution, there is another great idea in there. We all have them. It's just, how do we tap into that in the moment?
I got a vision of when a lawyer is preparing their witness for trial, right?
Exactly.
It's like, you've seen it in the thing where there's two lawyers. The one lawyer goes, "That's a little rough." And he's like, "That's how it's got to be in the court tomorrow."
There's no screaming.
No screaming. Maybe sometimes tears, but no screaming.
Yeah.
That's awesome. No, I mean, what I love is when I hear an idea that I think to myself, that should not have escaped me. Like, that should not be this wow aha moment idea. But I do think it is a wow aha moment idea for me I'm having right now, in that, yes, like, because I've had many designers say to me, how do I get them to design like I want them to design? Or I thought they were going to be killer and they're just average, and just really preparing from the strictness of the test getting in, not to phone a test in, to do a difficult test, and to consistently just say, this is how we go here. This is what we're striving for. And this is part of our process, is always providing honest feedback. And I love the way you keep saying, there is another way to do everything. Mm-hmm. And so you're not wrong. It's just not what we prefer for this project, right?
Exactly.
Interesting. So tell me about something that's a 25-year-old business that's nothing to shake a stick at, and 22 employees, and the type of projects that you're doing. Tell me something, Claire, that you would say, and I'm not going to say the thing that most, because then your brain freezes, right? Just anything that you would look back and say has contributed to the success in building this company. And like I said, I'm taking away most. It can be the silliest thing that comes to your mind, and then that will open up the gates for other thoughts, I'm sure.
Well, I've always said that it's really, really good to be lucky, in fortunate and timing. And I think a huge portion of the company's success has just been positioning of where we were in markets and economies, and taking advantage of strengths in times where there wasn't a lot of great economic boom, right? So just being very lucky and strategic in how we placed ourselves. For sure, that's the unsexiest response I could give you, but it's the reality. But then, second to that would be the way we build our relationships with the design community. Yes, it's important for us to build deep relationships with our clients. That's obvious. But I think what has really set us apart is really caring deeply, not just about our clients' happiness, but everybody else that's on the project. It could be the architect and architect's team, the builder and all the builder subcontractors, and all the way down to the vendors and the suppliers of where we are sourcing our products. Really ingraining in my team, it was so important to me, so critical throughout my careers, really making sure that the people that we are relying on understand that we appreciate, and we understand the importance that it takes all of them to succeed. So I would say that's a big underlying philosophy of our company.
And in executing on that philosophy, Claire, is it something where it's simple human relations, where you're just an actual person that looks in the eyeballs of the tiler and has a conversation, or have you done other things throughout the year that cement that relationship and that acknowledge it in some way?
I think it's both.
Mm-hmm.
So making sure that your team's culture embodies appreciation
Mm,
of everyone else's work. And that's not something that just happens. It has
mm,
to be talked about in every team meeting. It has to be demonstrated, not just by myself, but also my more senior designers and senior teammates. And then also making sure that when we have opportunities to have outside interaction, whether it's a social function or outreach with another company, that we participate in those things, so that it builds the relationship even deeper.
I love that you said that you have to build a team culture that embodies the appreciation of the other vendors that cross your path, all the different other people in the community, because it is 100% true. It is so much more common that a culture is constantly complaining about the builder,
Mhm.
the plumber, the fabric company, the this. That is very typical, and I think it runs rampant. And to your point, to create a situation in your own company where you're embodying appreciation, that is probably something that you are working on daily and talking about often.
100%. And especially right now, where, everyone is so busy and there is a tremendous amount of opportunity within the design community. It means that our vendors are absolutely stretched thin. They're running, demand requests for 15 firms in one day. And
Mm,
just making sure that when they make it to our firm, if they're dropping off a sample or a builder calls with a question, we are reactive. We are appreciative. We understand their position. We don't wait a week to respond and make the builder then delay his construction crews, or with an architect asking for a detail that we get back with information quickly, which shows a level of respect for them and their process as well.
mm. It's oh my goodness, I'm very impressed about that, and it's not to be taken lightly. I think that's awesome. So now share with me maybe some okay, either a past challenge that you looking back on 25 years, right? Like if somebody said to me, LuAnn, 40 years in business, what was something that was hard? I would have an answer. And so is there something that was hard that you in the moment might have succumbed, or you came through it, but you recall that lesson that you learned has continued to serve you as you've built your business? Anything come to mind, Claire?
Yeah, I think the mantra that I continue to kind of chant to myself is, um, continue to take risks, believe
Mm.
in what I have built, believe in all of the reasons why I have done this. And sometimes that does mean, moving through things that are uncomfortable. And, we've all been through down economies, and there's all this chatter now about things, and just really believing in what I've built, why I've built it, and continuing to take risks within myself, and therefore the extension with my interior, with the entire team.
That's also significant. You're a heck of a smart lady there, Claire.
That's easier said than done sometimes, right?
Well, but just the acknowledgement of it. Because the thing is, not everybody desires to build a 22-person team. Not everybody desires to build a 3-person team, right? But the reality is that you don't build a team that large without taking risks. Right? I mean, my husband Vincenz was up at 4 o'clock this morning, and I slept like a baby right through it. And at 7 a.m., I'm like, "What are you doing?" Because there he is, all dressed. When I like rolled over, he's like, "I couldn't sleep." I'm like, "What?" And I don't even say what's on your mind, because I know all the things are on his mind all the time, right? And I was like, "What's going on?" He's like, "What's not going on?" Right? Like, and so he's in a period now where he is doing that navigating risk. You know what I'm saying? And you can't take it lightly, but you can't not do it either. And so that's interesting that your mantra is continue to take risks. I love that. It is a lesson that we do need to understand if we're interested in significant growth. I mean, we need to take risks just to be in business one person. Let's be real, right?
Sure.
Yeah, absolutely. So cool. All right. And it's funny that you said the other line, believe in what I've already built. And I'll share that before we started the show, I said to Claire, I said, I don't know if you need this practice in your life. I don't know if you already do it. I just met you, but I've looked at your website. I've looked at your business. I've just had a 10-minute conversation with you. And if you are not every single week patting yourself on the back and saying, OMG, I did this, you need to start doing that. So it sounds like you are doing it. So that's good. Okay, now the other question that I wanted to ask you is there anything that's happening in your business now that feels like I wish I could break through this, that you're dealing with, that's a conundrum, that is your next it's your current challenge, and that you're just like, yeah, I have a great company and I've got a lot of experience, but things still keep me up at night or trouble me during the day.
Yeah, we've got a few new kind of, I would call them opportunities versus challenges. So we are in the process of launching a store. It's space that's connected to our current design studio, and it was just incredible space that came open, so we decided to just again take the risk. But it's all of our favorite things that we already use and utilize, but being able to use that as a tool for our clients, one-stop shop, kind of finish your design studio meeting and we'll go downstairs and you can sit in our most comfortable, seat style, or see how we do our favorite bed linens or whatever the item might be. So, extending ourselves and extending the service that our clients get in that facet. But then we're also launching our own receiving logistics company, which in today's world is a significant portion of problem resolution.
Yes.
So being able to receive our own goods, store our own goods, and inventory them within our own control is another really exciting endeavor. But it comes with all of its own challenges of new staffing and things like that. And then the third one is really, which we touched on before we went on air, is the succession plan. What does that look like, and how do I pass the baton over time? In 25 years, I'm still feeling pretty spry, but at some point, I'm sure I'll lose some stamina. So what does that look like for myself and my team? And I think just those are super exciting. All three are super exciting opportunities, but they can keep you up at night.
I didn't prep you with the question, and I thought, I wonder what you'll say. You have three major things. Yes. And so that goes right back to your other mantra of continue to take risk, because opening in a store and having all of that inventory now, that's a whole nother beast. And I'm sorry, launching your own receiving and logistics place. And I will tell you, I am thinking of two different designers right now that in the last year have said to me they flirted with doing that. And then when they go and investigate it, and both times when they've said it to me, I was like, look, you're a smart lady. You are a powerhouse. I am not going to advise you at this point there's not a chance that out of my mouth is going to come, I don't think you should do it. I said, but it is no different than saying, I'm going to run a bakery shop too. It's a completely different business. Yes, it will support your main business. So go do your research and come back to me with all the things, and let's really have a conversation, because if anybody can do it, you can. And in both cases, they both decided not now, not for me.
Yep.
They don't have as big team that you have, and maybe not as much bandwidth to do it, or maybe just, not willing to sleep with as much risk on their head at night as you are. But I can understand the value of it, but it is is a legitimately completely different business model, like, right?
Oh, it's not even the same. But again, both of those, the store and the logistics company are both extensions to increase our level of service to our clients.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really what it's about. It's just how do I make the experience within my companies the most memorable for our clients and everybody that we work with.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy though. That's a huge undertaking. So, and are those inked already, or those are ideas on the board right now?
Inked already and in process. The store will be launching in a matter of 30 days, and the logistics company has already started receiving its first item. So, yep,
Wow. And will that receiving company take will it be a legitimate side, another business that does other designers receiving, or is it simply for your firm?
simply for our firm. It'll service our clients as well as the store. So
Okay.
just for ourselves. I'm not trying to compete with
Yeah.
a new, yeah, no,
Yeah.
absolutely just an extension. And I will still be using our current receiving warehouse and installation team. I'm not trying to replace that. It's really just a supplementation.
Wow. Interesting. Very interesting. Wow. Okay. And that was one of the elements that came into the conversations with each of those other women separately, was that in order to make it at, break even is bare minimum, but profitable, they would have had to take on other designer clients. And that
Mm,
was when they thought, okay, this is getting crazy pants, but you have
yes.
enough volume to manage it for yourself. So, and of course, with
Yep,
opening the retail store, now somebody's going to want to buy the sofa that's sitting on the floor. Now you got to deliver the darn thing.
exactly.
Okay. All right. And then one of the final questions and areas that I'd like to just discuss with you, Claire, is, what does your advisory team look like? Do you have a business coach? Who are the people that when you say, I think this is a great idea to open this, who do you go and you bounce your ideas as? Because I found 201, usually successful people like yourself do have certain go-tos, whether they are, within their team, presidents, vice presidents, or outside. What's your advisory team look like?
Well, my number one advisory team is my partner, right? He and I are he's my person that I go to and I complain about my entire day. We talk about our children. So by far, that's my number one go-to, and an idea doesn't really get past that if it doesn't have enough legs to be substantial. But outside of that, I am constantly talking with all of my professional um, equals within the design community, and talking with them about where are they at, what are they doing, what do they think about this. And I feel like that's where I get a majority of my best feedback, because they will challenge me
Mm.
if they think something isn't sound. um, but just talking with others within the community, if I go to pick up a tile sample, or if I go to preview some slabs or whatever it is, talking within fellow business owners about what they're doing, and what I'm potentially thinking.
Okay. So when you said your partner, you mean your partner in life. It's not a business partner.
My partner in life.
Right. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. And then, so it sounds like it's more of a, as far as your professional peers, it sounds like it's a more of a casual type thing. If I see them or I have a question, I can pick up the phone, as opposed to, a structured sort of back and forth.
Very casual, much looser than probably most people would prefer to get business advice. But for me, I am a relationship person, and I also know how busy we all are. So if I catch someone, we have a conversation. What's going on with your life? Where are you
Mm,
trending your business? Here's what I'm thinking. And I just really enjoy that kind of camaraderie,
mm.
and long term, kind of relationship building.
I love it. I love it. I mean, it is some of the most valuable information you can get is from your peers who are boots on the ground, just doing what you're doing, right?
Yep, absolutely.
Yes, and I find with whatever level, if you're up to 1 million in revenue, you're up to 5 million in revenue, you're over 10 million in revenue, whatever it is, when you can have those honest relationships, safe relationships with, you get benefit up and down the ladder from the different levels. But when you have that with your particular peer level or the next level up, I find those to be so fantastic because it's, sometimes if they're the next level up, they're sharing the problems that they just went through, and you're like, oh, I'm just starting to get that sense that that's going to be a struggle, right? Or if it's peer level, maybe you've got something locked down and you enlighten them, but there's something that they're doing, and you're like, oh heck, there's the key to turn that puzzle. Like, what the heck, right? And so, it's one of the hallmarks. I have another company, Claire, called Exciting Windows, and it's basically a membership of window treatment professionals. We're about 50 members now, and the membership goes from people doing $150,000 a year to doing upwards of $15 million a year in window treatments. And we get together every Thursday by Zoom, every Thursday. And then we get together twice a year in person because it's that sort of, oh, that works for you? Oh, I didn't think about that. Oh, we used to do that. My goodness, we forgot to do that.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so it's really nice. So I'm glad that you have that among your peers. You must have certain peers that I might ask them this kind of a thing, but I might ask another one that sort of thing. Over the years, you develop the relationships where who's going to push you or test you a little or ask you the harder questions, right?
Oh, sure. Yeah. I mean, I definitely want to be challenged. I'm not just talking to the ones that are like, oh, that sounds great to everything. Yeah.
Right? Fun, but not very effective.
Yes.
So, is there anything that I didn't bring up, Claire, that you're saying, why didn't you talk about this, LuAnn? Because this is what's really important about the way I run my business that would be helpful. Anything cross your mind?
No, I think we've kind of touched on all of the really important bullet points of business. I mean, aside from having, preteens in my house, that's my only other big struggle. But in business, no, we talked about it all.
That's good. That's good. I know. Good luck with that.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I have to tell you, I've enjoyed our conversation. I appreciate you so much, coming here and talking about these things and just sharing the journey that you're on. And honestly, your to-do list of what's going to happen in the future is incredible. And I'm going to want to stay in touch and see maybe a couple years down the road how that succession plan is going and, how that logistics and that receiving plant is going and how your storefront is going there, because these are not like your garden variety things on a to-do list.
Yeah, I'm equally excited to
Yeah.
see what happens in 2 years. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for being with us, Claire.
Thank you, LuAnn. I appreciate the opportunity.
It is a little hard to even fathom the level of organization, consistency, and plain old smart thinking that it takes to run a firm that handles 120 projects all at the same time. And yet Claire makes it sound like a walk in the park, right? It is clear that she is the epitome of a hashtag smart lady. And I think one of the reasons why it comes so naturally to Claire is because she has gone all in, not just in setting up her systems, but in perfecting and revising her systems and processes. Everything from beginning with the hiring process, where she has that test project and she involves giving feedback to incoming designers and evaluates their ability to receive that critique and to also make decisions and pivot on that critique, right? All the way to the areas where she has built in checkpoints so that she can maintain a connection to every project that her design team is working on. It is all well thought out. It's well established and well practiced. Now, there are a few points that I want to pick apart for you. The first is that absolute willingness to have tough conversations. Claire and I specifically addressed what happens if she brings on a designer who isn't going to cut it, right? This happens. We've all been there. There are aesthetic differences, personality clashes, and simply sometimes it's working styles that don't complement each other. It's something I will tell you that I have learned a little harder along the way, right? And something that has made me take to heart some of the more strategic approaches to hiring that I have learned throughout the years from our friends Jessica Harling of Behind the Design and my cousin Eileen Hahn, right? Hiring is a is definitely a skill that I am always, mark that, always striving to do better with each person that we hire. Learning how to hire well and on board with efficiency is critical for all the other things in our businesses, for the efficiency, the profitability, and the daily harmony and happiness of yourself and those who work with and for you, right? But even if you have the best systems for hiring, the most flawless onboarding setup, and you're just the most amazing person to work for in the world, this can still happen, right? Sometimes people are just not a right fit. Even when you do it the right way, which I hope you do. And when you do hire the right way, it happens way less often that you get a wrong fit, but it can happen. And if you remember Judith Neary, who was on the podcast that first year with us all the time, she used to say, humans are involved. So there you go. There's that unknown element, right? So what happens when you have the wrong hire, right? Unless there is egregious behavior, it isn't really that easy to fire someone, right? Or to even counsel and encourage them to a different direction when it's not working out. It is one of those hard conversations that you just have to learn to have as the leader of your company. There's no two ways around it. Claire doesn't shy away from it, and she has a wonderful perspective on it. She leans in to the respect that she has for the person in front of her, and she says, you know what? You're not the right fit for this, but I know you are the right fit for something and somewhere else. There are skills that you have that when you are in the right position, you will use these skills to your best ability and you will thrive and you will succeed. And Claire says, and I will help you get there. I will do what I can to help you get there. I mean, I just loved it. It shows thought, respect, integrity, and it shows the value she has in her relationships, in all of the relationships with those who have crossed her door. I really admire this. And it also shows true leadership skills, to be able to have those tough conversations from a standpoint, not of here's why this isn't working for me, but here's what this can and should lead to for you, right? I mean, just let it sink in, right? Another way that Claire commits herself and her business to relationships is building a culture of respect for her vendors and trades. This is something I value tremendously, both having been a vendor and having hired vendors. There is no worse feeling as a vendor than when you are not viewed as a partner, as an ally to the person who has hired you. We might have miscommunications and mistakes, actually correction. We will have miscommunications and we will have mistakes, but throwing our vendors and our trades under the bus is simply unproductive, right? Instead, when we value those relationships, when we build a culture that shows respect for vendors and trades as real partners in our businesses, it makes every project better. And when you as a leader actually do value your vendors and you teach it and to your team to do the same, this is critical, right? Because here's the thing. In the way your team sees you speak with the vendors, the way you communicate information to them, and your ability to give them the benefit of the doubt when situations arise, right? This is what your team is observing. So you can be saying one thing but acting a different way. And we all know that our actions are what someone will follow rather than our words, right? And so when this happens and you are doing it the right way, and your vendors and trades can trust you to do the right things, then guess what? They will give you their very best because they feel empowered and respected by you. And literally, most any vendor or trade will move heaven and earth to please you, right? One more takeaway I want to highlight here. Claire's momentum in her business. If you want momentum, you need to create momentum. Claire has more on her mind, more on the horizon, and she is fully committed to making it happen. And I have no doubt that she will, because she brings thought, confidence, consideration, and smart planning into every decision she makes in her business. What is the next thing that you want in your business? How can you make it happen? What steps can you put into place today to start the action going? Are you moving yourself forward with momentum in your business? Are you in a place where your systems and processes are stable enough that if you do build your business and you do grow and scale, you can handle it? What if your choice for your business isn't necessarily to grow and scale, but it's to be able to leave every day at 3:00 and be with your children? In either case, it is your defined system and processes that will enable you to do these things. And if you don't have them, go back to the basics. Build some efficiency into your business so that you can reach whatever it is that you want for your business. Okay? And to be clear, momentum, new horizons aren't only for those of you who want to grow your company. We say it here all the time. I hope you get that message. You absolutely can choose to remain a small firm. We've had so many designers come on the show. Genevieve Truesdale, Leslie Myrick, and Rachel Moriarty all come to mind. Each of these ladies has carved out a business model that enables them to stay aligned with their personal vision for their firm, which is to remain small, and to also, though, professionally fulfill and challenge them, right? They're getting both. They're achieving both. They're moving their projects up the ladder further and further, closer and closer, always to their ideal client, but they're keeping their firm the size that they want on their terms. So listen to their episodes for inspiration and strategies if this is what you see for yourself, okay? Remaining a solo and having an extended team that is not necessarily on your payroll. All right, we'll put the episodes in the show notes. So momentum means you first take the time to dream, to set goals, and then you create the roadmap to get there. And you combine these two with action. Right? You do the things to create the things you want to achieve. And then you build the momentum and you keep going, right? I wish that for you. All right. Claire, that was a great conversation. Thank you so much. And I hope that you are inspired by Claire's words today. I hope that you got some takeaways that you will put into your business. And I hope that you will decide every darn day to be excellent. Thank you for joining me today. This podcast is a production of LuAnn Nigara, Inc. If you want to know more about me, my books, or LuAnn University, go to LuAnnNigara.com. And if you are interested in having WindowWorks help you with your next window treatment or awning project in the New York, New Jersey metro area, go to WindowWorksNJ.com to learn more. Have an excellent day.